9 weeks later, the light that led me out of the darkness of real life has now dimmed. It's over. I'm going to take this opportunity to exclaim spoilers for the season finale of The Last of Us. So,
put your seatbelt on.
What's going on YouTube? My name is Jay Lee and I like a lot of stuff. Today I'm talking about the final episode for season 1 of The Last of Us. It's been a pretty special and surreal experience leading up to this episode, and I have to say I'm pretty satisfied with how it all played out. As with any season of television, there were highs and lows, but if the highs were episodes 3, 5, 6, and 8, with the only moderate low being episode 7, I'll take that ratio of programming any day. As I said going into this series, I was pretty emotionally invested, as was most of the gaming community. I quickly discovered how true to the game the show was trying to be, but with episodes like 3 and 5, I also learned the show had great stories to tell adjacent to those in the game. The finale aired on Sunday and it did everything it needed to do to wrap up the season. How satisfying it may be for each person viewing is going to vary greatly, I think, but I'll dive more into that later. The episode starts out with a bang, introducing a very pregnant Anna, played wonderfully by Ellie's original voice actress Ashley Johnson, who is frantically traversing the woods while screeching sounds echo in the distance. Sadly, there was a YouTube breakdown video for episode 8 from New Rockstars that alerted me to the fact that Ashley would have a cameo. I really wish I didn't know this because that reveal would have been huge for a nerd like me. Anyways, we soon find out that pregnant Anna is about to give birth to Ellie, and the process in which she does it is the reason why Ellie is immune. They didn't have to go into detail to explain Ellie's mysterious immunity, but I for one am glad they did. Not because I needed the over-explanation or anything, because I do think there's value in leaving it ambiguous why she's not affected. But for the sake of the show and to expand the lore, it was great to have this detail come to light from Neil Druckmann himself, mind you. So it wasn't like fabricated just for the show, it already existed in the creator's headcanon. This cold open was awesome and really tied together the events of the first and last episodes. Marlene's connection to Ellie gets an overhaul with this scene and really lends depth to her decision at the end of the show. In the original story, as well as in the show prior to this episode actually, Marlene's relationship with Ellie's mother was barely mentioned. So at the end of the game, her so-called difficult decision to sacrifice Ellie for the sake of humanity doesn't necessarily feel like a sacrifice. It's a callous and calculated course of action. So when she's holding Joel at gunpoint and telling him they're gonna have to remove the mutated cordyceps from Ellie's brain to maybe produce a cure, there appears to be no conflict in her heart. With the prologue, we get the sense that she really does have more of an emotional, sentimental connection to Ellie than she lets on. Well done. So this episode was the shortest of the season, which reminds me of the typical HBO recipe for shows like Game of Thrones, hitting hardest with the second last episode and then calmly sending us on our way in the finale. In the game, we still had a couple of giant set pieces to play through before the hospital, but knowing the short runtime, I had a feeling that they wouldn't do the bloater scene because it was unnecessary. But Joel and Ellie nearly drowning in the subway car could have been an amazing, if expensive, sequence before the Fireflies apprehend them. Clearly, I still struggle with comparing the show and the game, but given how short this episode is, I did feel there's room for a bit more. And that has to be my main drawback for the show, is that I'm just sad for it to end and I want more than what we got. That being said, I do believe what we got was pretty exceptional, even in this episode. The obvious post-traumatic stress Ellie is recovering from. The openness of Joel now that he's accepted his feelings for Ellie. The incredible murdering rampage that Joel goes on after being escorted away from Marlene. It was all great. But when the show wraps, just like it did in the game, there's a part of me that was like, wait, that's it? And not as a slight against the quality of the ending, because I really believe it's perfect. When the show ended, I just wanted more. And this is where I'll bring it back to my earlier comment about satisfaction with the ending. Joel's decision at the end has been long debated by passionate gamers for years now, with some siding with the idea that he was wrong, he was the villain, and others saying he did what any father would do. I think that's what's most brilliant about the ending of the show, which creates that of the game almost identically, is that the answers are given to you and you have to accept it. You as the viewer or the player have seen the events played out. Joel's choices have been made. He's killed who he's killed, and whatever comes after is fact. We have to accept it. Love it or hate it, we're watching the repercussions take effect. Yet, when Ellie asks Joel to swear to her, that's where the conjecture lies. Does Ellie believe him? Can she accept his answer? What happens if she finds out? All of these thoughts and questions purposely left unanswered has always been a fascinating talking point for me, and now the rest of the non-gaming world gets to be part of this discussion. I have relished in the last 9 weeks of Sunday nights, and I'm going to miss the show dearly. I can't wait to get my hands on the Steelbook edition of the Blu-ray when they become available, because I need a physical physical 4K copy in my life. Well, as short as it was, the finale still managed to hit all the main points that made the game ending so iconic. Even without recreating the big gameplay moments prior to the end, the season finale of The Last of Us still gets a 9 out of 10 from me. And that's it. That concludes my weekly review of The Last of Us. Looking back, 3 episodes scored a 10 out of 10 for me, so if I somehow rank them from most to least perfect, here's my list. I have my reason for why episode 3, Long Time, didn't get a 10, but it's just gonna take too long to get into that right now. I will say it has nothing to do with the quality of the episode though, because it's quite perfect. Episode 1, I retroactively changed from an 8.5 to a 9 after rewatching it and appreciating the ending much more. But yeah, there you have it, my collection of reviews for The Last of Us, and ranked no less. Come back soon to catch my thoughts on all the stuff I haven't talked about yet.